والله يدعو إلى دار السلام ويهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. The Battle of Badr is over. Now, the procedures that took place afterwards are what we're going to talk about, inshallah. We already talked about the Prophet ﷺ instructing his companions to bury the Muslims who died in the Battle of Badr. And he also instructed them to bury the non-Muslims, the disbelievers, the pagans of Quraysh, in one well. So they were pulling the disbelievers and throwing them in that well. And while they were pulling Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, his son, Abu Hudhayfa ibn Utbah, may Allah be pleased with him, one of the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ, and among the very first to revert and accept Islam. And he migrated among the very first to Medina as well. The Prophet noticed that there was a change in his face. The man is seeing his father being pulled as a corpse to be thrown in that well. So the Prophet ﷺ asked him, "What's wrong, Abu Hudhayfa? Are you regretting what happened to your father?" Abu Hudhayfa said with a believing voice, "O Prophet of Allah, I believe what you brought was right and just. But I also believe that my father, Utbah, had a sound mind. He was a person of wisdom. And I was praying and hoping that he accepts Islam. I could never ever imagine that his wisdom would lead him to such a fate." And the Prophet ﷺ prayed for Abu Hudhayfa and asked Allah Azza wa Jal to guide him and to have mercy on him. Now remember, Abu Hudhayfa is witnessing the death of his father, his uncle, and his cousin. All of them died. Yet this did not prevent him from accepting this, because it was the path they themselves chose. After they were buried, the Prophet, we've mentioned that he stayed there for 3 days. He went to that well and he started speaking with them. And it's a one-way dialogue. He said to them by name, Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, Shaybah ibn Rabi'ah, Al-Walid ibn Utbah, Abu Jahl, Amr ibn Hisham, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, and so on. We have seen what Allah has promised us. Have you seen what Allah had promised you? Now the Prophet ﷺ was promised victory, and he got that. And the disbelievers were promised hell, and he is talking to them. Umar ibn Khattab said, "Prophet of Allah, how do you talk to people? Their souls are not in their bodies anymore. They're corpses. They're dead. They smell. How do you talk to dead bodies?" The Prophet answered him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, by saying, "By Allah, you do not hear me more than they do. They're like you. Allah Azza wa Jal has given them the ability to hear me, so that would increase in their punishment. Because it's too late now for them. What can they do? So it's a form of punishment." And from this we learn that the dead do not hear. And this is mentioned in the Quran. where Allah, the Almighty, says that, O Muhammad, you do not have the ability to make the dead hear. This is in general. And we also learn from this that it is forbidden for a Muslim to call the dead. So if you go and say, O scholar of Allah, or prophet of Allah, or a companion of the Prophet ﷺ, he's dead. Do this for me. Ask Allah for forgiveness for me. Ask Allah to grant me a child, or to pay my debts. This is not acceptable at all. Even if you call the Prophet ﷺ, because he is dead. And the dead do not hear. They're not aware of what's happening on this life.
Sheikh, what about those who say that we can send salutations upon the Prophet and yet he will receive them also?
This is a different issue, because in this particular issue we were told that there's an angel that Allah Azza wa Jal has put him just to receive the salutations to the Prophet and deliver it to the Prophet himself, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he would tell him that so-and-so sends you his salutations, his salat. And one of the greatest evidences on this topic is the hadith of al-hawd, of the pool, where the Prophet tells us, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in an agreed upon hadith, it reaches the level of mutawatir, which is so spread and famous to the extent that you don't even look at its authenticity. It's so authentic that it is the highest in authenticity. The Prophet tells us that I will be the first to reach the pool, al-hawd, al-kawthar, and whoever drinks from it never gets thirsty on the Day of Judgment. So this pool is on the Day of Judgment. And this pool is given to the Prophet ﷺ. The pots where people drink off are more than the stars in the sky. And it's made of gold and silver. So a group of people, followers of the Prophet ﷺ, come to drink from it. And they're prevented. So the Prophet cries out, saying, "O Allah, they're my followers, they're my people." So the Prophet is answered by saying that you do not know what they've innovated after your death. And this is the catch. You do not know, which means that the Prophet ﷺ is dead. He doesn't know what happened after him. So he says, destruction and destruction to those who innovated after me. Going back to our topic, the dead do not hear. They were all buried, the Muslims and the non-Muslims. And before the battle, the Prophet ﷺ put a good word to few of the non-Muslims who were coming with the army of Quraysh. And why was that? Because these non-Muslims helped the Prophet ﷺ when he was in Mecca. They did not participate in the oppression that was inflicted on the Muslims. And some of them were forced to come out. And for example, Al-Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, who was the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, was forced to come out, to go and participate. He did not participate, he did not kill anyone. He was forced to come with the army. And also Abu al-Bukhtari ibn Hisham, who aided the Prophet ﷺ, who tried his level best to stop the people of Quraysh from oppressing the Muslims, and he went out of his way to help and assist them.
I heard that his uncle Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, the disbelievers there in Mecca, they had doubt basically in him because, they didn't make sure that if he was sincere to them or no. And
they didn't trust him, you mean?
Yeah, I meant like they didn't trust him. And I read, I don't know if this is correct or no, I read that he used to send informations about the disbelievers to the Prophet ﷺ as a way of like helping and try to cooperate with him.
Of course, this is true. It was reported that he secretly embraced and reverted to Islam along with his wife and his children. But he did not declare that, because then they would have been gone to the offensive with the people of Quraysh. But nevertheless, when he went on the Battle of Badr, it was not clear yet whether he has reverted or not. So the Prophet told the companions of his companions not to kill them, and they did not fight them. Al-Abbas was a prisoner, while Abu al-Bukhtari ibn Hisham, one of the companions, caught up with him while he was with his friend. So he told him, Abu al-Bukhtari, the Prophet ﷺ told us not to harm you, and just to arrest you and capture you. So come in peace with me. So Abu al-Bukhtari said, okay, what about my buddy? What about my friend? So he told him, well, your friend is a different story. Our instructions was only for you. So he said, well, sorry, I'm a man of honor. I cannot be arrested on my own. Whether it's both of us, or I kill, or we fight with my friend and die in pride. And so that's what took place, and he was killed because he did not want to become a prisoner and watch his friend and the one who was with him die.
I think from this lesson I take that there's different types of non-believers in categories. You can say some of them are sympathetic to Islam, and they have maybe two directions at times, and they mislead each other.
Of course. Now, this is crystal clear nowadays. Not all non-Muslims are aggressive and against Islam. On the contrary, there are lots and lots of non-Muslims who sympathize with Islam and try their best to support us. For example, look at Rachel Curry, I think her name was, the activist who was run by a bulldozer in Palestine. She was in her 20s, young, active. She went there sympathizing with the Muslims, with the Palestinians, and she wasn't a Muslim. And the Israeli bulldozer just ran over her and killed her in cold blood. Now, we do not generalize. We say that there are lots, millions of non-Muslims who sympathize with Islam. And in the Quran, it tells us that Allah Almighty does not forbid you from being a friend, being nice, being kind to those who do not fight you, who do not abuse you, who do not kick you from your houses. Allah does not deny you from being kind to them. Allah denies you and forbids you from being kind to those who fight you, to those who exile you from your houses and try their level best to destroy your religion. So you have to be careful. You don't talk about non-Muslims as they're all the same. There are so many of them who were helpful to Islam. Abu Talib, for example, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, he was among the elite in defending the cause of the Prophet ﷺ, though he was not a Muslim. I believe we have a short break. Stay tuned, and inshallah we will be right back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The dead were buried, and all what was remaining was the things that the Muslims caught from the disbelievers, the booties and the loots. And the Muslims had different opinions. One group fought the polytheists. So they thought that they were the men to take this booty and loot. The other part of the Muslims, they themselves spent their whole time protecting the Prophet ﷺ and surrounding him so that no enemy could penetrate them and harm the Prophet ﷺ. So they thought that we're entitled, more entitled than anyone else. The third party were themselves the one responsible for gathering what was on the battlefield after it was over. So they thought that we're the one who gathered it, so it should be ours. And Allah Azza wa Jal revealed the Quran stating that it was not of your own doing. So the Prophet ﷺ took 1/5 of it, and this 1/5, known as al-khums, is to be distributed on the poor, the orphans, and those who are cut away from their family through traveling, and so on, and to free the slaves and the prisoners of war. And this 1/5 was to what is called the treasury of Muslims, Bayt al-Mal. And the 4/5 of what was gathered, it was distributed evenly between the Muslims who attended that battle. Of course, the Prophet ﷺ gave the share of few people that did not attend because they had their excuses, and such as Uthman ibn Affan, who was the son-in-law of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was with his wife, the daughter of the Prophet, because she was extremely sick and ill. So he had to stay with her with the permission of the Prophet ﷺ. So he gave him his share because he was ready to go, but he was held back because of her illness. Once this took place, Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, who at the time was a pagan, he saw that the strength of the Muslims is becoming far superior than the non-Muslims. So he pretended among his colleagues to accept Islam after the Battle of Badr. And he led the front of the hypocrites, of al-munafiqeen, who pretended to be Muslims and who were trying their level best to undermine any thing that would add value to Islam and the Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ was left with 70 prisoners of war, and he did not know what to do with them. He knew what to do with 2 of them, An-Nadr ibn al-Harith wa Uqbah ibn Abi Ma'it. These were 2 of the leaders of Quraysh who went out of their way throughout the past 13 or 14 years to attack the Prophet ﷺ personally and to attack Islam and the Quran. An-Nadr ibn al-Harith, for example, he used to argue with the Prophet and used to follow the Prophet ﷺ wherever he went in Mecca. So whenever he sat with people and he started talking to them and reciting the Quran to them, trying to make them accept Islam, he would come and say, why are you listening to this man? He claims that he has stories from the heavens. Well, I have stories from Persia, from Al-Hira, from all the kingdoms around. He traveled a lot. And now let me tell you some of the 1,000 nights, tales and fables. And he kept on distracting people away from the Prophet ﷺ wherever he went. Uqbah ibn Abi Ma'it, he is a person who physically used to attack the Prophet ﷺ. In one incident, the Prophet was prostrating in Mecca to the Kaaba. So he prolonged his prostration in worship. And the people, the polytheists, said, who will go and do something that is nasty to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? So Uqbah said, I will do that. And he went to a nearby house where they've recently slaughtered a camel, and he took the guts and all the filth that was in that camel, and as the Prophet was prostrating, he threw it on his back and neck. And they started laughing and smiling, and they were having a good time seeing this happening to the Prophet. And all the companions of Allah could not intervene because they were afraid that they will be harmed, until Fatima bint Muhammad, the daughter of the Prophet ﷺ, she was a young child, 7 or 8 years of old, and she removed that from the Prophet ﷺ and cleaned him, swearing at them. How brave that woman was, or that girl was, swearing at them, at the leaders of Mecca, who were fierce and fearful. And when the Prophet ﷺ raised his head, he raised his hands and started praying and supplicating to Allah with a loud voice so that they can hear. And he said, "Oh Allah, destroy, alayka bi, may you have your wrath on Abu Jahl, Utbah ibn Rabi'a, Uqbah ibn Abi Mu'ayt." And he named the people. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, said, he named a handful of people that I've seen them all in the well, dead on the day of Badr. Not one single one was spared. Everyone that he supplicated against, he was dead on the battle of Badr. So Uqbah ibn Abi Mu'ayt, he once also, the Prophet was preaching Islam, was calling people to Islam. He came and choked him with his garment. Choked the Prophet with his garment. This man, Uqbah ibn Abi Mu'ayt, until Abu Bakr came and he intervened and released him. That is why when they were caught as prisoners, the Prophet ﷺ instructed his companions to execute them, both. Now, does this fall in line with the Geneva Convention? Of course not. But is anybody applying the Geneva Convention?
No.
Are these treaties respected? Look at Guantanamo. Look at the prisoners of war in all nations and countries. We do not care about conventions and treaties. We care about the Quran and Sunnah. What does the Quran and Sunnah say? The Quran and Sunnah tells us that the leader has the right to execute a prisoner, or to set him free for nothing, or to swap him with another prisoner of ours, or to take ransom from him. This is all up to the Muslim leader. The Prophet ﷺ only executed 2 for their harm. One of the prisoners was Abu Azzah al-Jumahi, who was a poet. And he also used to say a lot of bad things about Islam. And when he was captured, he gave his word to the Prophet ﷺ that he would never ever attack Islam. And the Prophet emphasized that. Are you sure? He said, yes, you have my word. Because poets at that time were more stronger than the media. They were the only a way of transporting
News.
and transferring news. So they were like, TV channels and radio stations.
Great effects on the people.
It's an effect beyond imagination. And they were among the richest because they could bring a person up to the heavens by praising him and saying things about him that people would think he's the most generous, the bravest among all. And they can bring a person to the ground by saying untrue things about him, that he's stingy, he's coward, he's so and so. Now, 2 were executed. The remaining 70, the Prophet ﷺ did not know what to do with them. So he, as usual, consulted his companions. So Abu Bakr said, well, I think and I believe that they are our brothers and cousins. And maybe Allah will guide them to Islam one day. So I think that the best thing is that we ask ransom from them. And this hurts them financially, and it's a lesson for them to learn from. So we request money in exchange, and this would add value to us as a beginning nation. We need the financial means to establish our country. So the Prophet ﷺ liked this opinion. Umar ibn Khattab, on the other hand, along with Sa'd ibn Mu'adh and Abdullah ibn Rawaha from the Ansar. Now, Umar and Abu Bakr are from the migrants, so they are their cousins. Umar said, well, I don't think that this is a very sound idea. My advice is to give Aqil ibn Abi Talib, who was a polytheist at the time, to his brother Ali ibn Abi Talib, and to give someone from also Bani Hashim to Hamza, and to give so-and-so to his brother so-and-so, so that they all execute them. And then, when everyone executes his loved one or relative, Quraysh knows that we mean business. And this is nothing to do with feelings. This is our religion, our belief that we believe in. This brings me back a little bit. On the battlefield, we were told that Abu Ubaidah Amr ibn al-Jarrah had to kill his father, because his father tried his level best to kill his son, and he was escaping him. Yet he had to face him in battle, and he had to kill him before being killed. And also other companions had to kill their uncles, had to kill their relatives, because they came in order to kill them. One of them was Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr, if I may recall correctly. After he embraced Islam, long afterwards, he said, "Oh father, if you see me on the battle of Badr, I was trying to avoid you so that I would not fight you and kill you." So Abu Bakr told him, "Oh my son, if you saw me on the day of Badr, I was trying to locate you so that I would kill you. So don't think that you're merciful because you're avoiding me. I was doing this for the cause of Allah the Almighty." So the Prophet ﷺ was hesitant in accepting which opinion? The opinion to kill the prisoners or to ask for ransom. But I'm afraid that this is all the time we have for today's program. We will know inshallah next time we meet what happened and what did the Prophet ﷺ chose. So until then, fi amanillah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.